The Kansas City Chiefs have a type at wide receiver, and they have options up and down this draft. Who is their best target for a fit in this offense today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free on every platform. Check out YouTube, get subbed, and hit the like and the bell here if you can, and then get over to the audio section and get subbed over there as well, whether it's Spotify or Apple or wherever you like to go, because the best way to get this show is to get it when it first drops on YouTube and out through the football world. Lot going on today. I'm riding solo this week, and I want to run down the key thing that is going to really make the difference in how we view the draft in terms of the wide receiver position, what leads up to it, etc. But if you would, thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next listen. We want to make sure you get all the information you need, whether it's the draft on the NFL Draft Show or the scouting show, or whether it's the opponents around the AFC West, maybe around the AFC itself. You want to check that out. Everybody has something going, and right now, what I have going is a lot. It is nearly overwhelming, but I do want to give you guys a hint, because right now, I've got a great deal for you over at rogueapc.com. That's where the draft guide is available for pre-order right now. It drops early next week, maybe even Sunday night if I get things done. The code is MatrixLOC to get a nice discount on it. And I do want you guys to see it because there's a ton in this draft guide. More film than we've ever done. The grades are more comprehensive, and we are going to get sure that you know everybody that's coming down that pike one way or the other that can help the Kansas City Chiefs make their next goal of running it back. So check out Rogue APC and check that out. You can also find me at NFL33.com. That's where my writing and my staff put out draft content, team building, etc., as well as RGR football, where you can see it all also here on YouTube. Let me start by saying that the type of Kansas City wide receiver is one that has a way to dominate. That's what it is. Whether it's smarts, whether it's route running, or whether it's athleticism, they tend towards the athleticism in one aspect or another. For Juju Smith-Schuster, who was just here, is more about contact balance than it was about exploitive speed or the ability to cut. For MVS, it certainly is about his over-the-top speed. Same with McCole Hardman while he was here. Now you see from players like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, it's not necessarily their straight line speed over the top, although both have a good bit of it. It's more about their change of direction. And so what we're going to look for as we tier out all the wide receiver groups today is what's really there. I have the comprehensive rankings, both film, athleticism, and production all in front of me, and we're going to go through that today. I am really interested because right now the situation is that we haven't seen D-Hop get cut yet, but that is the rumor that's coming. You're talking about two very, very prolific wide receivers going to be available on the free agent market. Could the Chiefs go look at one of them? They certainly could. We've been talking about it quite a bit, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I did talk about D-Hop when there was the trade rumor about it would be much more sensical to do this with D-Hop after he was a free agent. What does he bring? He brings elite contested catch ability. That's what his career has been based on. Now, he still has good movement skills, but that's his bread and butter. In coming to the Kansas City Chiefs, what it does is allows him to be the quote-unquote underneath receiver. You're going to run some deep routes. You're going to keep those safeties honest. But by doing that, particularly with progressive layered routes, you're going to be able to get D-Hop, were he on this roster, in a position that Patrick Mahomes can get him the ball. The opposite is true for OBJ. You're going to let him be the spear. He still has, all intents and purposes, from what we've seen after the injury, he still has the ability to make those cuts and to run those routes, get open underneath, and he can also take it long as well. So there's two different ways to dominate there. How do they get in the offense? It depends on what you're looking for. In the first round, there are a number of receivers that I think are consensus top tier. And when you look at them, they all dominate in one way or the other. But the thing that is true is that between Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, who right now is number 2 on my board, now that we've gotten a lot of the film done, and then obviously Quentin Johnston, there are different ways. all have speed, all timed very well. And on the matrix, they come out. You can get the athletic matrix at rogueapc.com as well. And the overall scores will be part of the draft guide. But when you compare them, what I do want to differentiate is that everybody has decent speed over the top. They're all 96s or plus. Along with Jalen Hyatt, who is one of the really long burners, Matt Landers. They don't necessarily fit into exactly what the Chiefs are looking for because of some of the technical skills that fit into the pass-catching genre in Kansas City. But in terms of the athleticism, they're all there. The top three are the top three, and I think if you're going to trade up, I think the one that really exemplifies what you're looking for and what you've been able to make work in the past is Jackson Smith-Njigba because of his ability to use his short area quickness to get loose, something that Tyreek Hill did very, very well, and Kadarius Toney really makes a living on. Sky Moore has that quality as well. The problem is the size fit, and where do you line him up? And at a 6 foot and 5/8? Can he do a little bit of both? Yes, he can, but he runs predominantly out of the slot. And I think that is something that we have to keep in mind. 89% of his snaps in the slot. That tells you there's some overlap there. Is that worth trading up for? That becomes the question. The other prospects here in terms of Quentin is a guy that you can line up outside and you feel good about that. He can come in and be a big slot as well, but he has the over-the-top speed. That is the top tier, the top gear that could get there. What you get when you look at Jordan Addison is a mixture of both. He's not as sudden, but he certainly has the long speed there. He is probably the best route runner in this class. Still understands how to stem and stack and make sure that he has the advantage over the DBs. So each one of those guys gives you a different area that you can attack in. What's best for the Chiefs? Right now, fitting with what's on the roster, I have to think that it comes back to adding the piece that you don't have. Is that Quentin Johnston? Is that a smokescreen that they've had him in for a visit? Tomorrow, I'm going to run down all the visits that stand out to me and what they mean in terms of the Chiefs' research. I think those three are far and away set apart. What comes next? Who are the players that can offer something in the Chiefs type that can exploit the defense and take advantage of it? Who can be an X factor? And X factor is actually part of it. But I want you to get into the swing of things, and I don't want you to miss out on the action. So please go over, and right now, because the NBA is about to get cooking, you want to check out FanDuel. It is America's #1 sports book, and it's the perfect time to get with them. Because right now they're giving a no-sweat first bet to first-time customers. You can win up to 1,000 bonus bets onto your account if your first bet doesn't win when you sign up with our code FanDuel.com/lockedon. Check that out. You just download the Sportsbook app from FanDuel. It's safe, secure, and easy to use. They make everything super simple, and you can bet everything you want from money line to threes to who ends up being the leader in offensive boards. That's always one of my favorite. A lot goes into it. You can roll those together even and get a same-game parlay if you want to make that action and your chance for a payout even bigger. So don't miss your chance with a no-sweat first bet. Go check that out today. Up to $1,000 in bonus bets when your first bet doesn't win. Over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's right there below. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And learn all about it because every moment is more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Betting is one thing. Trying to fit pieces in the puzzle makes you go back to the drawing board in terms of what can a player do for you. Josh Downs is a player that I think has great ability in terms of his explosive range. Is he quite the nimble change of direction type guy? No, but he can exploit a defense. Dagger routes, post routes, the things that you want him to do. The question is the size. And he's not alone. A lot of folks have Zay Flowers as a top tier, top round pick. I do not. I have him in the second. And it is partially because of the stature and partially because what you're getting with Zay Flowers athletically is a pretty good athlete, but specifically in the deep routes. He is not the change of direction guy that a lot of folks start equating because of his body type to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek was a 5th-round selection despite his athleticism because of off-the-field things, but he still wasn't going to be projected even if that hadn't happened into the first round. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. And as we said, Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best short area quickness wide receiver in this draft. Beyond him, you have to go down a bit. And I think where you get into some value, we're going to talk about coming on day 3. But for the day 2 receivers, I think you get into size now. After Downs and after Zay Flowers, you get into size and speed. You get into A.T. Perry. You get into the Tennessee Tillman. And then his partner in crime, Jalen Hyatt, who clearly has the burner speed over the top. He did break 100. Third or fourth player in the history of the Matrix to break 100 on the explosive range metric. That's how quick he is. But there are questions about his gameplay on the field. Switch releases, the style of offense that he was in. Can he really adapt to a complex system like the Kansas City Chiefs? I feel more confident in Tillman and Perry. Perry is more athletic. Tillman is more productive. Both have significant size. What comes in for A.T. Perry is at 6'3.5", and you get Tillman in at just an eighth shorter than that. The difference really is about 15 pounds. That's the explosiveness that you get with Perry that you don't necessarily get with Tillman. But Tillman has the strength factor. And a little bit of injury history goes a long way with him. But if you can clear that out and you feel the medicals are solid, I do think that if you're looking to replace Juju Smith-Schuster with that kind of physical attribute that we talked about with Matt Derrick yesterday, Cedric Tillman's a good bet. It's going to be about the rehab process, making sure that he's all right. But you want to add to this roster in a number of ways. The big difference, again, is the Kansas City Chiefs type receiver is one that has a trait that they can exploit against any defense. Tillman has that superior strength. He goes up, and I like his catch point work. He is, in the end, at Air Force, a guy that you feel can go get the ball for you. It's not top leaping. It's not Hopkins. So if you're looking for that aspect of the offense, it's not a one-to-one, but this is a rookie that you feel that you can grow into. And that allows you to have options at the second tier on the second day. Other guys that I think do fit what the Chiefs are looking for, you have the athleticism that comes with Charlie Jones. I think he's going to be a fringe third, probably into the fourth round type guy. And I think that sets him up to be somebody that can come onto the roster and really help, but not cost a ton. And I think the guy that we're all sleeping on is the explosiveness of Rashee Rice. Had a great Senior Bowl, and I do think proved to the Kansas City Chiefs and a number of other teams that he is ready to step into a pro-style offense and be able to contribute right away. Now, does that mean it's going to be a smooth transition? Not necessarily, but it shows you that he has the ability. And I think Rice is a sleeper pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, because if they do have to organize themselves and they do find value either in a better graded player or a more significant role in edge or offensive tackle, I think Rice becomes a guy that it's going to be on day two that you might have to maneuver a little bit to acquire, but I think he fits more of what they're looking for in terms of being a guy that they can put into multiple roles. He's 6'1", he's over 200 pounds, weighed in at 204 at the combine, and I think that fits the mold of where they're trying to get to. Now, contact is not necessarily his best attribute, but in Air Force, that's either contested catches or forced tackles missed. He is a guy that rings in at third in this class, and I think Rashee Rice is a sleeper right now. Now, this information and more you can find in the draft guide. Again, you can get it at rogueapc.com and use that code MATRIXLOC to get your discount. These aren't the only players available, though. And I think day three brings some unique positions because of the volume of draft picks that the Kansas City Chiefs have. And what's going to be here on day three, projections allow them to move around a little bit. I think there's going to be a day three receiver that comes onto the roster. Let's take a look at those right after this. This is where I think it gets really interesting. This is where value comes. The Chiefs have had a lot of good luck recently, in particular in the fourth and fifth rounds. Multiple players, including L'Jarius Sneed in the fourth. You had Trey Smith go even later, but we can see that when they make their evaluations, they understand where value is. And that's what Brett Veach and the staff and the front office of the Kansas City Chiefs is really, really honing in on. And so as I look down, I'm taking a look at my rankings and guys that I feel should be on day two that carry some weight. We talked about Landers. He does have that explosive speed, 6'4" and 200 pounds. I do think that he fits. Jalen Reed is a bit smaller, not a ton. He's in at 5'11", and I do think that that's plenty of size. The Chiefs, I think, can get anywhere from 5'11" to 6'1" is kind of their sweet spot. And I do feel that they believe that you can get a multitude of traits that help you at that size and weight that could be an explosive speed guy, could be a change of direction guy, could be a possession guy, all within that same range. So I think that's a sweet spot that they like to look for. Jaden Reed is a guy that Dan Harms over on RGR loves, and has a pretty good grade from us. There's always guys like Marvin Mims, I think, are underrated right now, and he's nearly, 5'10" and 7/8, and he's coming in at 183. A little light, but again, has that super long speed that can run over the top. That's going to be important down the line. Day 3 guys that I think do stand out to me, one is Ronnie Bell, also in that range at 5'11" and 5/8, and a little bit on the lighter side. Not a ton, just 191, but I do believe that fits in the range. He's a guy that's got nearly as good change of direction as Jackson Smith-Njigba. Came in at a 6.62 3-cone. Now that's approaching Tyreek Hill change of direction speed. That's where we're talking about. Jackson Smith-Njigba is in Tyreek's range. And so if you're talking about adding that piece to it, I think that this is a better value than trying to trade up for JSN. It's more about trying to acquire Ronnie Bell on day 3. And I do think that that's probably where he goes. Could he squeak into the top 100? Possibly, but I don't think so. We're going to see what other teams value in terms of that ability to change direction. Some teams are going to covet that a little bit more. As we look for another option, one that I do like is Mitchell Tinsley. You've heard me talk about him before. He'll be a late round pick coming out of Penn State. He is Parker Washington's bookend, but he also played in that explosive offense down at Western Kentucky that we saw a year ago, that I think does carry over to some of the things they're trying to do in the NFL more. And I think the Chiefs can take advantage of that. What I don't see the Kansas City Chiefs doing is getting into a height weight kind of battle where that's the key. One guy that I think is right in the middle, and I'm hemming and hawing on him, is 6'1", nearly 6'2", and 213 is Michael Wilson from Stanford. He does have good initial explosion. He does have good change of direction. It's not as dramatic as Ronnie Bell and JSN, but it is definitely well above average. But that's where it tails off in terms of a Juju Smith type underneath receiver that's got to do the drags and got to do the ins and got to do the dirty work underneath. That's what I think Michael Wilson could be for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're asking him to run those deep goes, post, corners, etc., that's not his thing. And I don't think that will end particularly well where he tried to sneak in there. And I hear a lot of people talk about him in those kinds of ways. Now, after we get through this group, we get into kind of the flyer range where there's one aspect or another, like Jalen Cropper from Fresno State. Cropper's got the deep speed, has a couple of issues underneath, and the initial explosion isn't there. Press sometimes I think is a bit concerning as well. You got to watch out for that. Let's see. Another player that really does stand out for me in terms of initial explosion is Dontavian Wicks. Bit oversized too. 6'1" and 3/8, 206. You like that size. You like his ability to be in a short and intermediate type receiver, kind of that big slot that I could foresee as well, but doesn't have the over-the-top speed for the Chiefs. So definitely in that day 3 tier that you could see them getting to. There are other players that are going to show up and bring different aspects that I think are going to be important, but they're way more either oriented towards a position change or towards special teams. I do think that you like Kearis Jackson from Georgia, who's got that long speed and has a lot of return ability. You have Darius Davis kind of in the same mold, undersized, but you think he has the ability to really get that ball back in special teams, get it into a place where Kadarius Toney doesn't have to take on that role, and neither does Sky Moore. And I do think when we get to day 3, that is part of the tiering, is that who can help us on special teams in the return roles in particular. Not necessarily looking for gunners, but looking for return specialists, and that's where I'm at. One that stands out to me as well that I don't think is really high on the radar because he played at Liberty. He's got a great matrix score, and he was productive in terms of controlling the ball and getting yardage, and that is Demario Douglas from Liberty. Undersized again, going to have to look at how he could fit in, but he has something to offer, and I do think the Chiefs, when you get to that UDFA type range, I think he could be a target. I think Malik Knowles from K-State could be a target. And I do think that there's value to be had there, especially on this roster. The Chiefs always like to keep a couple of practice squad wide receivers. I think that can work out for them. And one guy I do want to shout out just because he shouldn't really be considered a wide receiver anymore. It's Elijah Higgins, another Stanford pass catcher that I do think needs to make the transition to tight end. And I think that could pay off for him. So if we're looking for a project, that could be it. So those are the wide receivers tiered out as I see them in their fits for the Kansas City and what they bring. A trait, multiple traits, explosive traits. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs are looking for in every aspect of a pass catcher. If you have one, they'll build on it. If you have two, they'll put you to work right away. So let's see what happens. I don't know about any of the draft rumors with the trade that would affect it, obviously. If we get more information about that, I will have a reaction for you immediately. Tomorrow, I want to go over the visit list. Who's come into Kansas City? The top 30 visits are a very good way for Chiefs to get to know someone a lot all at once. It's a whole lot easier to dig into a player's personality and physical capabilities and how they've been coached all at once on an on-site visit than it is, say, at a pro day or at the combine, where time is limited and there's multiple teams looking to get that information all at once. So I think it's a unique perspective the Chiefs take advantage of very well. And sometimes they're guys that they pick, sometimes they're guys that they rule out, but that's what the process is for. We'll take a deep dive on the visits tomorrow, and then we have Mock Draft Monday. Going to be a doozy for you. Thanks for spending your time. Check out your next Locked On show from the scouting show, the draft show, and make sure that you like, sub, and hit the bell here on YouTube. Let me know what you think. Who stands out, and where do you think the most value is in this draft at wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs? Put your comments in the comments here on YouTube. Put them in the reviews on Spotify and Apple. And we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Check out @LockedOnChiefs on Twitter. You can hit us there as well. Thanks for your time. I'll be back tomorrow. You have a good one, and I'll talk to you then.